Don't wait till the battle's over. Don't wait till the struggle ends. Shout now, right now. Shout now. Don't wait till you make it.
What's up, everyone? This is Phillip. Grab your coffee. Clearly, grab it faster than me because I wasn't even prepared. Ha! So it's we're in changing seasons. There was this post that I did for everybody that doesn't follow me on social media. Follow at phillipwork.com. But I like to reference that because I like the dialogue to be consistent and ongoing for us to chit chat and just to peek into each other's lives. But there's this post that I did, and we were talking about seasons. How do you know when you're in a new season? What takes you out of the season that you're in? And how do you navigate from one to the next? Often, much like the weather that we're having now, sometimes it's a pretty abrupt change. Sometimes you have to pivot pretty hard. Things happen and we just have to kind of shift into a new season. And sometimes we don't like it, but then sometimes we're really successful at stepping into the unknown because we know that that's what we need to do. So there's something resilient about that. There's something internally great about that. And there's something also challenging about that. And we're going to talk about shifting and pivoting and seasons today, because today we have former NBA league player and owner of Unicorn Business Funding here. And we're going to talk about it all. Please welcome the blessed and unstoppable Brandon E. Brandon.
Thank you for having me. How are we doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Fabulous, alive and well. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. So let's get into what I said was a mistake. NBAG, is that correct?
G League, yeah, Gatorade League, however you want to put it, but you got it together. It's good.
Okay, a lot of letters and a little coffee, so I'm trying.
That's all right.
I'm here doing my best. So first of all, where are you right now?
New York City, the Big Apple.
Yeah. So, Did you move there? Are you from there?
So I'm not from New York. I actually moved from Toledo, Ohio. I came up here of my own volition. Partner of mine, she's great and she has a career out here. So I decided to go leave everything behind, accommodate her and her career, and then just keep my things in motion out here, sacrificial love, so to speak. So I'm here.
Yeah. Toledo. Yeah. I'm from Ohio too. So it's like, oh, dude.
All right.
We were neighbors.
That's right. Sad for the Buckeyes though, but for
Oh my God. So let's talk about the league. Let's start there, because now that you said that you're from Ohio, I'm so interested to know, how did you maneuver to something of that magnitude, being from Toledo?
So basically from transitioning into playing basketball into the league, that was just something that was far-fetched. It was definitely the odds were stacked against me. I played basketball from 8 to about 15, 16. So I played in a predominantly, high prestigious school league. And then I moved out to a different district my sophomore year. And it was all handpicked, got cut. I felt discouraged. So I just, was able to fall back on football. So I took a 12-year hiatus. Mm-hmm. Here I am at the time, 27 years old. And I took my own ambition and said, you know what, I'm just going to try out for the NBA G League. So the Delaware 87ers, which is now the Blue Coats, the 76ers, minor league affiliate. Went, and Elton Brand was the GM at the time, president of operations, Coach Eugene Burroughs. And so I drive 9 hours to Hawkins in Delaware.
Wow.
And there's all these, most of those tryouts are boosters and fundraisers. But to make it, a long tail short, I decided to just give it my all, go ball out. And that's how I got my foot in the door. And then it gave me an opportunity to go ahead and get exposure. Because, being at a disadvantage, I didn't have college experience. I didn't have overseas experience. I just figured, okay, we're going to just go ahead and go by faith on this one. And really that's what it did. And I don't regret it at all. It's definitely an experience for sure.
Now, how long were you there?
So I was in the league for 3 years. I was with the Windy City Bulls, Delaware 87ers, and then the Wisconsin Herd, which is the Bucks minor league affiliate. So until COVID ruined that, but it was a fun ride while it happened. Do I plan on making a comeback? We'll see.
Well, I love that. We could fade to commercial right there. Yeah. You said until COVID kind of stepped in. And when I started the show, we were talking about pivoting. What happened? How did COVID step in, and why did that impact you the way that it did?
back in before, so the G League, their finals usually starts and their playoff season starts earlier than the NBA because the NBA's got more of an extensive season with 82 games, right? So during the early part of 2020, everything just started to change. I got let go on the team that I was on with the herd, and it just came to a point where, COVID, then the players were in the bubble. So what the pivoting part is when they started doing the mandatory vaccination, that's when I understood and realized, okay, this is a decision that I have to make. And I'm not knocking anybody that's done it, good for you. But in my temple, I told myself I'm not doing it. So by not doing it, they said, okay, they gave you the ultimatum. You either get vaccinated or you don't play. And I wasn't able to play because I chose not to. So I had to pivot and start analyzing everything on what I wanted to really do and focus on, because it's the equivalent of you fight for your dream and you get it pulled away from you.
Sure. In that kind of manner, I can't even imagine. I think everybody at some point during the COVID situation, if you will, during that, they were seeing how people were having to make decisions. People had to make decisions for themselves based on whatever. It could be based on finances. It could be based on faith. It could be based on politics. I don't know, but people were trying to make the best decisions that they could for their lives. And for many people, like you were saying, that really spun them into kind of like a different season, if you will.
Right.
Wow. I know that part of your story is you were also shot.
That's correct. Yes.
What? Okay.
Yeah. That's something that was definitely life-changing for sure.
So the reason why I'm kind of merging them together so quickly is because when you talked about the pivot, faith came to mind, and I know that's big in your world as well. And then remembering your story, your journey, testimony, if you will, of being shot. There's so much faith that you have to be able to know that you can pivot through those moments. What happened when it came to you being in the position to get shot?
Ultimately, so it was just wrong place, wrong time. And I had been up in Michigan at the time. And, Michigan's known as the formal, like murder mitt and all this, ha, ha, ha. But it was just wrong place, wrong time. And I started to realize, how precious life really is when that happened. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I'm going to go ahead and get shot. And, then I started to be able to filter and separate my pie and make it smaller, because you started to see the ones that were arrogant, watch you hang with, and that when they know nothing. But if they were the ones that were in return that ended up getting shot, right? Yeah. I mean, they would be like, oh, how dare you? I mean, so I would just take it. But it was really more so just a motivational piece for me to flip my life around, 180 and start to analyze everything, because I mean, there's really nothing closer to death than that. I mean, you had two gunmen, one fought off, the other one came up and just, boom, right there. And, lucky to be alive. Yes, because you hear a lot about all these, people getting shot. You even got rappers and stuff like that, and they don't make it. I made it. So, I mean, I feel like, I'm not using that as a badge of honor. I use that as faith and gratitude towards Christ above, because, there's a choice and there's a purpose to be able to be here. And that being life-changing, it's inspirational, and it could be used as a token testimony for others on those that could feel like, they may have been defeated or something. But there's really nothing worse than you see your whole life flash before your eyes at that point. And I used, all my faith, and I was, very thankful that the recovery process, it just happened fast. I mean, I didn't lose I didn't get nothing amputated. I never had any repercussions from it. Not even sometimes a little bit of PTSD. I mean, because for like the first week, it was hard to sleep, but that's anything. It's never been to a point where, oh my God, like it's not extensive where I just can't function when it's happened at a certain time. So faith really moves mountains, and I'm a huge believer in that. And it's just really a true blessing to be here today.
Up until that point, did you always have like a strong faith, or was this something that was like, this really changed even my faith perspective?
Ultimately, that was the thing that really needed to change that event that needed to change my faith perspective, because beforehand I was flirtatious with my beliefs. I, half reared them. But that right there is what really made me understand. And, Tim Tebow had a book that he wrote 5-6 years ago called Shaken. If anybody reads that book, and everything's contingent and aligned to what I'm projecting here, but that's exactly what it is. and you just really don't. There could be anything in life, and that was that one thing that had happened to me where I'd been shaken and I literally needed to wake up, and that was it.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you woke up, you know?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm glad you woke
Right.
up. You've had to change seasons often, and being able to kind of lean on faith and lean on the knowledge of you're not alone and you'll be able to make it is huge. And then all of a sudden you pivoted again and you started a business. Now, listen, tell me about that. I'm all about tell me because there's so many things that you got going on. But with Unicorn Business Funding, what is that and how did you start that?
Unicorn Business Funding was an idea that I had thought about and started literally 5 years ago. I just never put it into motion.
Okay.
When COVID hit and I wasn't able to play basketball, that's when I needed to do something. And once I picked that up off the ground, you started baby steps. But Unicorn Business Funding came together because you hear about all these firms and, all these specialists or whatever, and it's always got the words banking, investing, funding, but it's always like, there's nothing that's a catchphrase. So I figured,
Right.
what's really the GOAT? Like, what's the best? You're not going to call it GOAT funding. So, I mean, what's better than a horse and a stallion? Unicorn. Oh, boom, put it together. Unicorn Business Funding, UBF. So I did that. And Unicorn Business Funding is a solid foundation that I've orchestrated from scratch and created a phenomenal method that's literally untouched, unmatched when it comes to boosting credit, when it comes to legalized CPNs, when it comes to business credit, when it comes to formulating trust LLCs and doing taxes, along with adding life insurance to the mix because you have to do it in certain states. But however, the East Coast over here is biggest with life insurance. That to me, everybody needs help in today's day. Obviously you got the Bitcoins, you got the cash, but the cash is starting to fade. It's always going to be there, but everyone wants cards, but you can't get nothing unless you don't have grand credit, right? And so I have individuals universally come to me to be able to uplift their financial status. And, my clients on average, their scores, depending on what their situation is, will go up 100, 200 points in less than 2 weeks. Nobody's doing that. And the proof is in the pudding, and, get that out there to help others. Because I knew what it was like when I kept having to get cosigner. And like, I paid for cash through everything up until I was about 30. I'm 34 now. So, but you just need a viable line of credit. And now with it being holiday season, it's always my objective with Unicorn Business Funding to ensure that clients are not going into what I call the holiday hangover effect, waiting for a tax return. Who wants it? You want to keep everything rolling contingently on like a hamster wheel effect. So that's really what it is. And I'm really honored. I'd never thought. It's just, I planted a mustard seed and it just grew into a huge garden with Unicorn Business Funding. It's been a phenomenal journey.
I think it's awesome that previously when you were talking, you were saying that you didn't have a college degree. You went to play ball and now you started a business. Why? What? Okay. Now this gets into who you are. Why did you think that you can just go from one to the next and be successful at the next? What about you says, yeah, I can do that?
Because I've always been that way. That's the one thing that God instilled in me when I was younger, from being 8 years old, being in front of a church, speaking in front of a congregation of 800 plus, like it was nothing. And going through the journey of losing sight of it, turning away from God, coming back, doing a 180, everything that I, explained. But just the main thing for me was always been able to adapt fast because you never get comfortable or never want to get comfortable. I mean, you do, but to a degree, because being that is dangerous within itself. Yeah. And I just always had a high confidence in myself, a high vision. Yeah. I call it the 4 pillar effect. So you got your Holy Spirit, how you see yourself. You got your heart, which moves you. You got your brain and your body. Folks always want to say, well, your mind controls you. No. How you see yourself, your own vision of yourself. How do I see myself? Do I see myself conquering everything, or do I see myself crippling everything? Every time I walk out somewhere, I'm the center of the room, but I always love putting people on. So to answer your question, yes, I've always been extremely confident, a little cocky, but with myself, but to be able to do these transitions because, if you don't do it now, I don't want to be like, I've heard adults all throughout the time in life, and sometimes we have it, but I don't want to have those what ifs. I don't want to have the shoulda, coulda, wouldas on my team. None of them. No. I want to have a list of like the extraordinaries and less of the mishaps.
Yeah. 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 Those shoulda, coulda, wouldas, or the what ifs. I mean, those are crippling. You know, those are crippling. You can kind of stay in that pattern for a very long time and lose sight of the now and not even move forward. Oh wow, that's really, look, now my mind is like, oh yeah, no, that's really good.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole lot. So I'm glad that you have that. I think a lot of people want that. You know, some people try to manufacture that kind of it factor when it comes to that. But as were saying, even growing up in church and then moving forward, being public in basketball, now you're public with your business. It really helps. Clearly, you're a great speaker, so I can see what you mean. What do you do in those times? And I'm prefacing this by saying that everybody who looks good on the outside still has doubt, right? What do you do during those times where you may just say, "Whoo, this is a lot. I don't know." Like, what is your method of moving over the hurdle to get back to forward?
Ultimately, my method is from the analyzation of being able to, be in shotgun formation in football. You step back, oversee the field, and resurface the board. But more so, it's also on a meditation process. That's the grandest key for me, because self-reflection, biblical scripture, prayer, but most importantly through this whole entire transition. And before, I would always overwhelm myself because I always have to be perfect.
Yeah,
I strive to be a perfectionist. I would drive my folks nuts growing up on it, but that's just who I am. However, God works in grand, mysterious ways. For me coming and transitioning to New York and blessing me with a significant partner who is just unbelievably and undeniably the GOAT I can ask for. I mean, God bless her soul, but that's really what's key. Whenever I have the doubts, and I'm not saying, because a lot of guys are really prideful, but, pride comes before the fall. I always say greed comes before the fall, but whenever I have reflection and doubt, because, on the outside, everything looks great. The bells, the whistles, the glamour, the gold, awesome. But there's been droughts, there's been tough times. And, through faith and the belief followed by, a tremendous partner who always, and, I just give her praise for it because she just literally just keeps me intact and always, baby, it's going to be great. It's going to be okay.
Shout out to her.
Exactly. Shout out to her. Right. Cheers. But for real, just having that extra push and that true love appreciation, that's really all you need to just refunnel and regroup everything to keep striving through the tough times, knowing that it's not always going to be pretty, but if you really believe, of course, then the objective will always be complete, but just never quit. Don't throw in the towel.
Never quit. That's good. That's good. That's really good. For in your I'm going to pivot back to your business, the Unicorn Business Funding. A lot of people, you mentioned it, there's a lot of stuff going out there. There's a lot of people saying that what they can do, how they can help. I mean, algorithms nowadays, you can just whisper it in the air, and then all of a sudden, somebody's sending you something to say, hey, boost your credit score. For people who are watching either or listening now with yours, I hear the passion behind what you're saying. Who is the client? Who is the person that you would say, hey, this solution is for you?
The client that's always overspending, or the one that doubts and says, I can't get this. I'm stuck in a financial hole. I can't get out of this. It's impossible. They have insurmountable amount of doubt. So that's when I usually analyze the situation, focus on there, and tweak to where they can go ahead and be financially free. 100%. I mean, I've seen it all. I've seen it all from ones that high business owners that have everything grand on paper on the news feed. But you look at their credit and you're thinking, oh, holy God, like this is ridiculous, But everyone's situation is different. And who am I to judge for it? I'm here to go ahead and ensure that everything gets done. And, there's a lot of, and whoever's viewing this right now and will view this, I will say this in all fairness, there's a lot of proclaimed credit specialists, companies, bureaus that say that they can do this, that, and the other and take pictures in blazers, take pictures in, suits, nice heels, nice toes, whatever. I'm telling you right now, it's all worked as a pyramid scheme. Like a lot of them will say they'll get stuff done, but why are you waiting 6 months to get, or even a year to get 50 points in your credit when that's done for my clients in less than 48 hours? It all reflects on different systems. And I've figured out ways to boost the system, to break free and to kind of infiltrate what credit companies are doing that are illegal and enhancing, so that way the stress is uplifted, the anxiety is freed from the client, and they're able to understand that they're able to do whatever they need to do to get forward, to press forward and live their life that they want to live.
Yeah, I like how you kind of flattened not the curve, but the playing field when you were saying it can be very successful people, or it can be people that haven't achieved some sort of success, but there's still this this angst, if you will, of I need to get this taken care of. I need help doing this. Because a lot of times when people talk about credit, when people talk about their finances, there's a lot of shame in saying, uh-oh, I might have made a mistake, or uh-oh, I've gotten into something that I myself can't get out of with the skills that I have. I need to enlist the skills of someone else. So I'm so glad that you kind of leveled the playing field. Like, this is for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's for everybody. It needs to be. We're in a time and a place right now where, even after the pandemic, all that free money is running out. The employee retention credit, the PPP, the EIDL, the SBA, whether it's scam or no scam, it's running out. And folks need to really be aware. And I'm not on no NBC or stockbroker or Wall Street, but I don't need to be, because a lot of the things that those folks do, I already know. But I will say this in openness, I mean, they need to be awake, because 2025 starts coming, all those funds start going. I mean, that's why you start seeing a lot of these robberies, you start seeing all this California stuff, because, they relied on all this free money, it's going out, no one wants to work. Well, what do you think is going to happen in 2025? I mean, are we going to do another repeat of 2008? I mean, that's a whole different conversation, but it's just best right now to be prepared and make the investment. I made a post the other day, and it was just in contrast, in a nutshell, of folks have, boost my credit. Oh, it's too much, but they'll spend money on a vacation, or they'll want to go ahead and get a CPN. It's too much, but I'll go and spend a night out at the bar and a whole entire weekend wasting money. Or I want to do business credit. It's too much, but I'll go ahead and go on a shopping spree and buy unnecessary necessities and still be in debt. It's just common sense, a lot of responsibility. But as long as we just make that awareness, and that's what Unicorn Business Funding stands on, and that's what I made a flagship for.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think a lot of times people get out of holes, and you can probably testify to this through some of your clients or some of the things that you've seen, but there is a pattern of spending. There's a pattern of how people use their finances. And I think a lifestyle of healthy finances is what a lot of people need. They need to get out of it, but then they need to know how to not revert back to the same practices, the same patterns, the same XYZ that got them there in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next for you? You've done basketball. You got we're not doing the streets, the guns and stuff. You know what I mean? Now, and now you have your business. Where do you see yourself going next?
Honestly, I see myself just striving and enhancing Unicorn Business Funding and a lot of the other businesses that I have on the side that obviously aren't as that big, but as far as, additional streams of income, potential G League comeback, maybe. I mean, odds stacked against, but why not? I mean, now they're not mandating the vaccine, So, I mean, that's really a huge spec, but more so being able to live a grand lifestyle, focus, who knows, might get married. We'll see if that's in the cards. But basically, just to enhance the knowledge, to watch Unicorn Business Funding grow into an empire, to help those in need, because this is something that I thought that I never could do and I've done, and it's just been great. It's been fantastic. And to watch others' lives unfold in true testimony for what they could do, see results, they're happy, and live lives that they thought that they couldn't live, that's really the ultimate ecstasy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so just off the cuff, some random questions. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Okay. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Dogs. Any kind of dog?
Honest to God, I've always been a fan of Dobermans.
Yeah, okay.
Good dog.
On your playlist right now, who are the top two artists?
Oof, it's rare, but I like Motown, so I go with Stevie Wonder all day, every day. And I love me some Temptations. It's good stuff.
Some Temptations. I wasn't ready for that one. Okay. Would you prefer deep sea diving or paragliding?
Deep sea diving.
Yeah.
For sure.
And what is the number one thing or the number one tool that someone needs to take away from this to start on their road to success?
Believe it, you can conceive it.
Believe it, you can achieve it. There it is. Brandon, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that you, welcome to New York. I'm not there anymore, but welcome to New York. I'm glad that you're there. That's awesome. Yeah, and listening to everything you're doing and your passion behind it. Man, nothing but success to you. Awesome.
Thanks. Peace, happiness, and love.
Absolutely. Thanks. So that is Brandon. You can find everything that you need about unicorn business funding. I keep wanting to say solutions because there's just so much more that goes into that than just funding. But you can find everything that you need at phillipo'rourke.com or ThePHILLIPShow.com. But one of the things that I'm taking away from this is stay the course, have faith, and make sure that you have goals. In everything that he said, one of the things that is very clear is that there are goals. Your goals can change, but make sure you have them at the forefront of where it is you see yourself. What does success mean to you? And surround yourself with people that are going to believe in you. So visit phillipo'rourke.com for more. Thank you, Brandon, for being on the show. And as usual, I will see you next time here on The Phillip Show.
Don't wait.